And welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson, and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week we're playing Carto. We're checking out the demo for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and checks notes, Minecraft?
Minecraft? Minecraft?
Huh? Somebody, not me, played Minecraft.
Oh, wonder who that could have been.
You're
not just playing Minecraft all the time? I've heard things.
My secret Minecraft addiction?
Yeah.
No.
You have a dual life. In the evenings, you're just a YouTube celebrity posting your Minecraft creations.
Yeah, I wish, if only.
I wish. That'd be incredible.
But no, alas. Nope. I spend my nights alone playing Animal Crossing with no one watching.
Okay. Well, that's slightly more believable.
Yeah, I power up the Switch and my girlfriend rolls her eyes. And
It's
you know,
like, time to leave the room.
Right, exactly. No, she has, she'll go do laundry, or she has her own little video game addiction on her phone that she'll play as well, but...
Just no more of that Animal Crossing.
No more, yeah. Yep.
It hasn't even been a year yet. Come on.
How could you be tired of a thing that's less than a year old?
Yeah. That sounds like your motto.
We haven't even gone through Christmas yet. Yeah. But anyway, nope, not an internet celebrity. Just, I don't know, a marginal Twitter person.
Marginal Twitter person. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yep.
Wait, who are we talking about? No, I don't know.
We should talk about, speaking of doing fun things on the internet, Extra Life is this weekend.
Yes.
Yes. For the 400th year in a row, we are participating.
Yeah, also true.
Yeah. Game day is this Saturday, November 7th. We are going to be playing video games all day and hopefully raising some money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals in our communities. We would love your support, be it financial or otherwise. You can go to VGHangover.com/extralife for all kinds of details, including a link to donate, including a link to watch us stream games on Twitch. What else, DJ? What else should we talk about? Is that all the important stuff?
That sounds like most of it. We
Good.
have a few time slots where we're going to be playing multiplayer games. One of them will be Fall Guys on PS4. Please head over to that link, VGHangover.com/extralife to check that out. What else are we going to be playing? We're going to be playing We Were Here Too, which is like a co-op escape room. There's been murmurings of Sea of Thieves and Among Us possibly happening.
Yeah. When I get up bright and early on the East Coast, it will be a few hours before you start screaming. Probably screaming.
before I start screaming.
Also
who knows?
start streaming.
That's just my typical Saturday.
I'm just trying to think of some weird and fun stuff that I can start my morning with. So I'm going to start my streaming day at around 6 a.m. Eastern time with the Slay the Spire daily challenge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to stream that. Technology be damned.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. And then I got a couple other fun things I want to drop in there before the West Coast comes online and takes over the stream. So we'll, definitely make sure you go to VGHangover.com/extralife for a link to our Twitch page and a link to maybe drop a couple of coins in our little virtual fundraiser bucket for Extra Life as well.
Yeah. As of when we're recording this, we're almost there. We're like 3/4 of the way there, which is awesome. You guys have been amazingly generous so far.
And it's not even game day yet. Yeah.
It'd be awesome if we hit that goal before game day, but otherwise we'll just be playing all day anyway.
Yeah.
Hoping to raise some dollars. Just a few days left to go from when the show comes out. So if you're listening to this on Thursday morning, get ready because it's right around the corner.
Yep. Oh, cool. Throw a coin to your Witcher, or toss a coin to your Witcher.
Oh my god.
Is that what it is?
I forgot about that. That seems like years ago at this point.
Yeah. It's the only thing I know about that Witcher TV show.
Yeah. You're not a Witcher fan?
I have an aborted attempt at playing Witcher 2. I got into the first combat opportunity in the game, and it just felt like...
Oh, no.
I'm
You're just like, no, thank you.
No, I don't know what's going on here, but I really don't feel like I have any control over my arms or legs in this video game. Yeah, it felt like trying to do really detailed combat with Octodad. So I stepped out of that pretty quickly.
I played The Witcher 4 : Octodad.
Octodad. The Witcher 4 : Cyberpunk.
Something like that. Yeah.
No one's ever going to play that because it's never coming out.
No, it's been just... Those guys are going to be working on it forever.
Yep. Just an elaborate ruse with Keanu Reeves.
Ugh, terrible.
But yeah, back to positive things. Extra Life this Saturday, November 7th. We would love your support. The address again, VGHangover.com/extra life for all the fun information you would need.
Yeah. Hope to see you there.
Definitely. So video games this week. What are you playing this week, TJ? What is occupying your time?
I have been chipping away at 13 Sentinels, which I talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm happy to announce that I've unlocked all 13 protagonists at this point, so I'm like really in the thick of it. It's a lot is going on.
You're juggling 13 storylines, right? Is that how that works?
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah. I'll probably check in again with this later after I finish it, but it's still it's amazing. I really love this game.
Nice. And you mentioned offline before we started recording tonight that you're very motivated to kind of get your way through this because there are some games coming out in November you want to spend some time with.
Yeah, there have been, even on top of that, there's other stuff that came out earlier this year that I want to get around to. But
there's always stuff coming out, yeah.
Yeah, that's just inevitable at this point. But, man, I really want to make it through this one. Aside from that, I've been playing, I play a little bit of that, I can't believe I can't remember the name of this, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Yeah.
The demo came out. You play a little bit of this?
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I was kind of on the fence with this thing. The Nintendo just about a month and a half ago was like, there's going to be a new Hyrule Warriors game, and it's a prequel kind of to Breath of the Wild. And I was like, well, that's not what I want for like my next Breath of the Wild experience. And the first Hyrule Warriors was fun. I had a good time with that. It was a surprisingly good time. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It just didn't seem like the direction I wanted to go with Breath of the Wild. And then I played this demo, and it's really good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I also played a lot of the original Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, probably. I think it's on Switch now, isn't it?
I don't know. We made it to this. It would make sense that we made it to the Switch. I played it on the Wii U, and I think they eventually released it on the 3DS even.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine how that would run. But yeah, I had a good time with the earlier version, and this one seems to be kind of the same thing. It's like Dynasty Warrior style Legend of Zelda, so you've got hundreds and thousands, maybe not that many, but just swarms and swarms of enemies on the screen, and Link is just swatting them like flies with swinging his sword around and sending them flying. It's terrific.
Yeah. Yes, that is. There's something, and obviously this whole kind of Warriors concept hinges on this part of it being fun, but there's something very satisfying about doing a swipe attack with the legendary sword, and just a wave of enemies just flies backwards through the air. Yeah, it feels very substantial. Yeah, and you're just sort of wading into just massive hordes of kind of mindless and faceless Zelda enemies, Legend of Zelda enemies, and taking them down with a stroke of the sword.
Yeah, it's funny that I've never really been a huge Dynasty Warriors fan, but as they've started to create they're not really spin-offs, but as they started to take other existing properties and make Dynasty Warriors style games out of them, like there's a Zelda one, There were a couple Dragon Quest ones.
Right.
There's a Persona one. I find that like this type of gameplay there's something that's just so immediate about it and very satisfying compared to all these other games that they're dropping in here, like Zelda. Combat, it's not really like, I don't consider it a huge focus of those games. Dragon Quest, definitely not, because those are all turn-based. You're just like sitting deep in menus the entire time. So being able to take a character from those games and just steer them around on the screen and like mash a bunch of buttons and have them pull off all these crazy attacks, there's something about it that just feels so just very satisfying to me. It feels very like a very core video game thing to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I liked about the original Hyrule Warriors. As I've never played a game like this before. I've never played Dynasty Warriors, so the first time I dipped into Hyrule Warriors was the first time I'd ever played something in this. What is it called? Muso.
That's one of the other series, I think.
Types of games. It was the first time I'd done anything like that, and it really felt like they took all of the filler out from a Zelda game. Like all of the stuff that you do in between encounters, between big sort of boss fights, like all of that was edited out and dropped on the kind of the cutting room floor, and you were really just left with a big map, and you running around from corner to corner, like, yeah, just sort of mowing down wave after wave after wave of bokoblins. And yeah, it didn't feel like it should work, but there was something about it that was very oddly kind of compelling and addictive.
It's interesting, like, playing this after Breath of the Wild. Like, the original Hyrule Warriors, that was fine. It was pretty much what I expected if you had said Zelda Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, and that played like a weird kind of greatest hits that drew from just a ton of different characters from different Zelda games kind of mashed up together in one.
Yeah. It wasn't, I couldn't tell you what was happening story-wise in that game.
Yeah,
but it did just feel like, let's take all these Zelda characters and put them in this one place. But, like, coming off of Breath of the Wild, I kind of feel like, the combat in Breath of the Wild works very well for the type of game it is. Like, it's mostly about exploration, I feel like. And the combat is serviceable. It's kind of annoying at times. But, like, in this game, it's pretty much fun all the time because you're just mowing down enemies. You're doing these crazy moves and combinations. It's kind of like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine them taking, like Breath of the Wild 2 and putting like full Dynasty Warrior style combat into it as a replacement for how the combat was going to work. But maybe if they took this and just like dialed it back a little bit, so you have more appropriate sized encounters, but the action is just a little more like responsive and immediate. I think it could be something. I think it's definitely preferable to having the same old combat system where you just are circle strafing around every enemy and hoping your weapon doesn't snap in half after a couple hits.
Yeah. I mean, that still exists in this, too, because during one of the encounters, it was like, click the left stick to lock onto the biggest enemy in front of you. It was like, oh, okay, there it is. There's Zelda.
Yeah. But that's not most of the time, at least.
No,
usually you're just fighting the hordes of, grunts.
Yes, yeah. I like kind of the sense of urgency the game creates, and I like this about the original Hyrule Warriors as well, is that you do have kind of this big map with a bunch of different kind of icons and landmarks on it. And obviously in Age of Calamity, they all kind of come from the map in Breath of the Wild. And it'll, you get a little voiceover or a little communication from another player that sort of says, the gate to Hyrule Field is under attack. Get over there as quick as you can. And you run at just incredibly fast speed across the field.
Yeah.
To be greeted by this giant horde that's trying to take down the gate, and you do your thing and wipe them all out, and they send out their big bosses and big bads, and you take them out, and you get a moment to sort of breathe and collect all the collectibles that are hit the ground, and then it'll pipe up again. Oh my god, now it's the west gate. Get to the west gate as quickly as possible, and you run again over there, and it never stops. As soon as you finish an objective, there is another one to do. And the thing that was fun about the original Hyrule Warriors, and again continues to be fun about Age of Calamity, is the getting multiple kind of playable characters on the field and being able to kind of click around from different characters' perspectives at different places during this sort of chaotic thing, and being able to, basically be involved in multiple fights at one time.
I couldn't remember. Could you switch between characters in the original one?
I don't know if you could switch between different characters at different locations on the map. You could just switch between being a different character in the fight that you were in now.
Yeah, I know, because you had that huge character select screen in between missions and you could, like, level all them up or whatever. But I like the switching within a map felt new to me, and I think it, like you were saying, it's very exciting. It's good, especially as you're tackling all those different objectives, because at times, I would take Link down to the south of a map because there was a moblin that had appeared or something, but then suddenly there would be another objective on the opposite side, and I go, oh, actually, Zelda is hanging out over there, so I'll just switch over to her, and she will take care of it.
Who do I have that's close, right? Exactly. Yeah. And you just click over to that character, and you assume control over them and leave Link behind to do his own thing. Yeah. As
much as I like seeing Link zoom across the map, I think when the original came out, they were like, the fact that he can just sprint as fast as he does in that game, like, garnered a lot of attention for whatever reason. But so as much as I enjoyed actually being able to do that, it's nice to just be able to click a button and suddenly you're Zelda and she's where she needs to be.
Right. Yeah. It's cool. And the Age of Calamity demo it kind of tipped its hat a little bit, I think, in terms of how kind of story heavy it's going to be. Like you said, DJ, I can't recall anything that happened as far as plot goes in the original Hyrule Warriors, whatever sort of conceit they created to pull all of these Legend of Zelda characters together.
I feel like there was some sort of alternate reality stuff happening, which I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, just make your fun video game. Doesn't need to make sense necessarily.
Yeah. But the Age of Calamity, at least in the demo anyways, it sort of seems like they're making a sort of a conscious effort to build something kind of in the canon and in the world of Breath of the Wild. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but it seems kind of impressive that these developers are trying to deliberately create a thing that slots in perfectly to the story that we've all experienced so far in Breath of the Wild.
This really caught me by surprise because, as we've been saying, the original one didn't really like make a huge impression on me story-wise, so my expectations for this were kind of low. But really quickly, just by playing the demo, you get a sense like, oh, this is like, if you remember sort of the backstory of what was going on at this time from Breath of the Wild, you start to see some of the same events playing out, like, Ganon's coming back and we have to gather the 4 champions to pilot the 4, what do they call them, the legendary beasts or whatever.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wow, this is actually referring to stuff that we kind of know about, or we know sort of the broad strokes of, but this is going back and just letting us experience that again, which is way more than I was expecting out of this. It actually feels like kind of a half sequel to Breath of the Wild in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I read today actually that Nintendo was pretty heavily involved in sort of crafting the story, rather than sort of leaving it to. Obviously it's an outside developer building the Warriors game, but rather than sort of leaving them to kind of build whatever they would want to build, one of the producers said that Nintendo was pretty heavily involved in making sure that it kind of made sense in the world of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I'm much more into it. Considering that they're doing that in like compared to if they had done it more Hyrule Warriors 1 style, where it's just this total spin-off story.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I almost sort of regret playing this demo because this game wasn't on my radar. I was not going to play it or buy it at the end of the month. They were showing trailers for it. I'm like, oh, it looks like fun, but I've seen everything a Hyrule Warriors game has to give. And I don't know if I need another one. And then I played the demo and I was like, geez, I probably kind of got to buy this now, I think.
Yeah, well, it feels like, it's kind of late saying this because I've already played the first one. But between the two of these, it seems like it's going to be much more, satisfying in kind of that same Zelda way, because they've got the story in there. They've got like, it feels a little bit more cohesive since everything is kind of Breath of the Wild themed, just feels like it connects back to that game better than
Right.
the original one did to any other Zelda game.
Oh, rather than sort of plucking from 40 different Legend of Zelda games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows if that's still going to happen. Maybe they'll just like open up a portal halfway through and be like, oh, it's Toon Link from
Toon Link drops out,
exactly. Now he's here.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's cool that it actually feels like it's going to fit into that like Zelda timeline or whatever people are going on about all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I want more of that. I mean, there was a lot of mystery to Breath of the Wild and a lot of things that just, did not get wrapped up by the end of that game. Any other little sort of nuggets of canon, of story, of character that they want to share, I would be all about.
Yeah. It's a cool take on it. I really wasn't expecting it. I also was not expecting that didn't think I needed more Hyrule Warriors. But the fact that it feels like they've gone the extra mile with this one makes me think like, oh, at some point I'll probably check this out.
Yeah, yeah. And it wouldn't be a matter of sort of begrudgingly tolerating the combat so that you can get to the juicy story nuggets. It feels like all of it's kind of fun.
The combat was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
I usually have a very low appetite for this type of game. And I don't know, but this might be premature because I tried to play the Dragon Quest ones and they were fun for like a few hours. But just after a certain point, I was just like, this is enough of this. Like, I'm not enjoying this enough to justify. I don't even know how long those games are. They're quite substantial. So who knows? Maybe this will my interest will taper off again after a certain point. But no, it was kind of nice to come back to it, or the style game, at least for a little while during the demo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was very pleased to discover that any progress you make in the demo carries over to the main game should you choose to buy it later. So,
the demo seems huge.
It's pretty substantial. I played for 90 minutes over the weekend, and I was like, well, that's enough, because if I do buy this thing, I don't want to have to replay this over again. And then I did a little Googling, and I was like, oh, wait, I can play it all I want, because everything I'm doing is going to carry over.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, so that's a bonus. Nintendo did that recently with Pikmin 3 Deluxe demo as well. Anything that you do in the demo for that carries to the main game. And I'm like, well, I wasn't necessarily super excited about picking up the new Pikmin, but if I want to futz around with the demo and find myself convinced that I need the game, that's how you do it. That's how you get me to spend the $60 on the upgrade.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
So I guess, like I said, I'm not thinking I'll jump on this as soon as it comes out, but I can definitely spend a little more time with the demo, especially if it carries over.
Yeah,
that'll be nice. I was amazed because I did a couple missions. Well, I guess you do the first mission and then it dumps you out onto the world map, which is just the exact same map from Breath of the Wild, and it just has all the same like cities and landmarks that you went to. And I thought, like, it's not. It's not an open world game, so you're not going to go on foot from one place to the next, right? But for a second, I thought, oh my god, they just dumped like 100 million Dynasty Warriors enemies onto the sprawling Breath of the Wild overworld map, and it kind of blew my mind. But it's more like you just select all the destinations from the map, and then you're dropped into a smaller battlefield that is like a little section of the larger map.
Right. At least that seems like, yeah.
I was starting to get that itch. I was like, oh, I can't wait to just walk on foot from Hyrule Castle to, like, I forget, Kakariko Village or whatever it's called.
That was actually one of the things that came up in our Discord this week. We were talking about the Hyrule Warriors demo, and I believe Spin Doctor said, was one of the users, contributors to our little video game community, said that more than anything, it just made her want to play Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, I was feeling that itch a little bit as well.
Yeah. Luckily, we have Genshin Impact.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, cool.
I like that game
surprise.
too. I mean, that was a fine game. I don't mean to be sort of dismissive of it, but I keep waiting for that game to ask me to give it money.
I don't know, there's just something that was so much more appealing about the Breath of the Wild map. Like, I wouldn't mind spending a few hundred more hours exploring there, probably.
I'm sure you could. Yeah. Well, cool. This was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, definitely. Man, Breath of the Wild was such a fresh take on all the like kind of traditional Zelda characters. It's still exciting to see them pop up in this. Like Impa was playable. I think she was like a like the village elder or something in Breath of the Wild. But in this, she is just like this teleporting ninja, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and she's young and spry. Yeah, I didn't make the connection at first. Because Breath of the Wild takes place 100 years later, when they introduced this character Impa, and she was, kind of like a teenager maybe, and was a confidant of Zelda's. I was like, why does this name sound familiar? Why don't I remember this character? And I had to Google to realize that, it's the very old lady that you run into in Breath of the Wild 100 years later. Now she's a teenager and running around kicking ass.
Yeah. So in the same way that, like, it was fun to see characters reimagined in Breath of the Wild, and even in the first Hyrule Warriors, it's fun to see them pop up here again because, you didn't get to play as these characters before, so who knows how it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and I sort of admire the developers for kind of cooking up a fight scheme that is kind of within canon for every one of these characters. That, playing as Link feels like, fighting as Link in a Zelda game, that you can, you have your light and heavy attack, you have your charge up spin move, and I was like, that better be in there. And then of course that, within minutes it tells you that it's there. And then when you eventually get control of Impa, like you said, she's this, I don't know what she is, this teleporting ninja. And they kind of built this control scheme that fits in perfectly with, who this character would be, and all of the little, annoying and impressive things that the Yiga clan did when you were fighting them in Breath of the Wild. Yeah,
I didn't even put that together. I forget how all the clans work, but it was very exciting. It was not something I was expecting to drop in the old granny, but suddenly she is like this ninja assassin. Pretty good.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think many of us were excited about from that kind of initial launch trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, is it sort of implied pretty heavily that you would spend some time in that game as Zelda, controlling a different character. And whether or not that comes to bear, inevitably at some point in Hyrule Warriors, I'm sure you'll be controlling Zelda.
You didn't play as Zelda in Hyrule Warriors yet?
I didn't get to that point. No, okay, so can you do it in the demo then?
It's like, I mean, I hope it's not spoiling anything, but it's like in the third mission you do, or maybe the second mission.
Maybe I didn't get that far.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'm curious to see who else is in it, because the Breath of the Wild cast is so weird. But I guess I'll head back to the demo and see what else is in there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so good thing to pick up on the eShop.
Definitely. Yeah, keep putting out these like 25-hour long demos, Nintendo. That's fine.
Yeah, I think this is not I don't think it's on the eShop, but there is a new demo of Dragon Quest XI, since it's getting re-released on PS4 and Xbox. That I think that also carries over to the full game if you just need more Dragon Quest XI in your life.
Right. The original demo that came out for Dragon Quest XI on the Switch, any of your progress in that carried over to the main game as well.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So one would hope that the PS4 version does that too.
Yeah. Cool. Speaking of games that are just hundreds of hours long.
Yeah.
What else have you been playing?
I played Carto this weekend. This is just a cute little game that, I forget where this first got teased. I need to be better, not that it's important, but about remembering, like, how do I know this game? Because when they show up in the eShop, I watch these trailers sometimes, and I'm like, this looks familiar. Why do I want to say that I wanted to play this?
Yeah. I think this might have been in that Wholesome Direct a couple months ago, or like at least promoted by that account, because it was also on my Steam wish list for some reason.
Oh, there you go. It is indeed very wholesome. Yes, absolutely. It's just this delightful little a puzzle game, kind of. It's you're a little girl named Carto, and you are flying around the world with your grandmother, who is a world famous cartographer, and she has a little airship, and she flies around and she makes maps of everything. And there's a crazy set of circumstances that happen, and you get separated from your grandma. And she's flying around in her airship looking for you, and you're making your way on foot around the world below. And you have cartography skills as well. You have the ability to kind of find pages of maps and rearrange them and remix them, essentially, and lay them next to each other to change the world that you're walking around on. So the puzzle here is collecting all of the map pages in a world and being able to kind of spin and place them next to each other to be able to solve your objectives, help the little townspeople that live in the world that you are walking around in, and make your way to the next kind of biome to be able to get closer to reuniting with your grandmother. There's no combat, there's no crazy monsters, there's no bad words or violence in this thing. It really is just you as this delightful little girl walking around helping people, essentially. You'll get a map page that will lead you to a little village where somebody needs help with a thing, and that thing just happens to dovetail nicely with a mission that you're on as well, and you'll make connections with people in the town, and you'll find some new map pages, and you'll go out in the world and help solve some of their problems, and they will then in return give you new map pages that lead you to the next place that you want to get to, and then sort of lather, rinse, repeat. It has a really kind of endearing kind of cast of secondary characters, and little places that you'll check in with and into repeatedly over the course of the game. And yeah, again, some just really kind of sharp and precise kind of world building and character building that you get to the point where you're kind of like, oh, hey, it's that eccentric character again that I so enjoyed speaking with before. I get to go back and talk to them again. Yeah, all of this is done kind of with the vehicle of it essentially being a puzzle game where you're trying to collect all the map pages and lay them out in such a way that allows you to progress to the next thing.
Is it like a screen by screen kind of thing? Like you have certain pieces that you need to put down in order to solve this one specific area?
Yes, kind of. It's done by, they're kind of like biomes. Like you'll be lost in the grasslands. And the grasslands will have a handful of map pages that you have access to. As you get new pages, you can hit a button and Carto will kind of reach into, it looks like a little sword carrier on her back, but she pulls out a tube that's a map and unrolls it. Then you go into a secondary screen, which essentially is just a big raw space for you to kind of lay out and kind of mix master map pages any way you want. You can pick up pages, you can rotate them and spin them, you can put them next to each other in different ways that connects two pieces of land that wouldn't have otherwise connected to each other. At some point somebody says, oh, the walk across the desert is so long. When you go into your map page, it looks like it's kind of 5 maps across. But if you take out the 3 maps in between and move those 2 worlds next to each other, it's just a short walk now. So you get a lot of kind of agency to really kind of change the world to, one, make it easier for you to kind of get around, and 2, I don't know, it just makes it more interesting to kind of change the world based on you just kind of remixing the map.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's not necessarily there's like one specific solution for every area. You can kind of work with what you have.
Yeah, I had this experience a couple weeks ago with another game I was playing too, where I got stuck on a thing. And I kind of looked for a little help on the internet, and it gave me a solution that was different from the solution that I was working on. So it does seem like there are a couple of places in this where, at least in that one case, there are different ways of kind of solving some of these issues. It feels a little linear. It does feel like there is kind of a correct pathway through some of these objectives. But I was satisfied to figure out that I had found a solution that maybe the developers or at least whatever the other walkthrough I was reading had not found.
That's cool. That's always exciting.
And then when you get finished with one world with the grasslands, you move into the forest, or you move into there's a volcano area that you're in. There's a like a wooded area that has a couple of ponds and lakes, and there's a big chalet in the middle of it. And all of those have sort of a collection of maps that make up that part of the world. So you can't take map pages from the volcano and put them in the forest. That wouldn't make sense. So
there's a chalet at the volcano.
It makes sense in the context of the game.
Somebody just drew the short straw. They're gonna hang out there.
There's a whole functioning hotel at the at the volcano. There's a family that, and this is not a spoiler, but there's a family that runs a hotel, essentially in the volcano.
In the volcano.
Yeah, and they, they'll give you the grand tour, and they'll talk about how important it is to be super safe, and that here's our lava fountain. It's not, it's not a wine fountain or a cheese fountain. Don't try to eat it, please.
Oh Why
and they tell
have
you
that?
They tell you that they've only had 2 scaldings so far this week, so that's a good week for them at the hotel. So it's got a little funny sense of humor to it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's it's super light, super breezy. And some of the puzzles are a little confounding. I did find myself occasionally really just scratching my head, because you'll get to a point in a world where you've got, I don't know, 12, maybe 15 map pages, and they all kind of piece together in many, many different ways. So you're trying to sort of figure out, like, what pages do I need to solve this objective, and selecting from all of these pages that you have in front of you, and you have this unlimited kind of raw space to lay them out in different kind of configurations. It does feel occasionally a little bit like a little bit of a head scratcher sometimes to solve some of these puzzles. So it does make you work for it a little bit. As wholesome as the rest of the presentation is, the puzzle aspects of it do require some kind of brain power to solve.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the right amount of friction, I think, for this. And nothing ever feels sort of game breaking, and there's enough kind of hints that you can kind of walk around and go, oh, I think I get what it wants me to do. But yeah, it's pretty satisfying. It does make you feel like you kind of earned it a little bit.
Nice. Okay. I gotta put this on my list. I mean, it is on my list. I just need to go check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, would recommend. I'm actually kind of in the home stretch of it. I think I'm kind of on the line. Well, it feels like everything I've done in the game has led to this last place that I'm at. So I'm in the home stretch. It feels like it's maybe 7-8 hours long. So it's pretty substantial for an indie game, an eShop game. So there's definitely something here to kind of spend some time with.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Spend a couple of weekends on it, maybe.
Or one just, boring Halloween.
One very productive weekend.
Yeah, one Halloween weekend where there's nothing to go out and do, and I get to play this game as much as I want to.
True.
But yeah, it's called Carto, Carto. It is the main character's name. It's a delight. I was really pleased with it.
Oh.
Yeah. Looking at the credits, it was cool to see that Nick Sutner is the writer on this.
Oh.
And I remember way back many years ago that he was on a podcast with John Davidson and some other kind of early mid 2000s video game luminaries, and always kind of an interesting take on video games, and left the podcast, I think, to go work for Sony, and now apparently is a writer for other video games. And well, that's a cool story, man. I would like that job. I would like all of those jobs. That's really interesting. So cool for that guy.
Just need to find you a little indie developer you can work with your own mapping game or whatever.
Or whatever. Yeah. Put me in. I'm adaptable.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
So it's that time again. It's been another 5 years, so I have to play some Minecraft.
Is this one of those things where it had an objective for not playing for 5 years, and then you get
no, it's not one of those things.
A trophy for going back to it? No.
This is its own thing. Yeah, it's not that I'm only allowed to play Minecraft every 5 years because I have to satisfy some weird achievement. But no, it just ends up working that way for some reason. This latest phase, I think it kind of got started like when, back in March or April when everybody was first going into quarantine. One of the streamers I follow just started their own Minecraft server. They have like a bunch of people in their community, and they were just like, hey, here's the server. That'll be a cool kind of quarantine project. We're just going to start building stuff. And I've been like tuning in to check on the progress every week. And since then, they've just built like this ridiculous city with all these different districts. And there's an amusement park at this point with all these kind of rides / attractions. It's really impressive. And then I was like, well, that would be cool. I'm really not that knowledgeable about Minecraft. Like I've played my share of it. But just seeing the projects that these people come up with, it's so clever and very impressive. But at the same time, or like a few weeks later, one of my friends was like, hey, I've set up my own Minecraft server.
As luck would have it.
As luck would have it, yeah. And so it's just him and his wife and their kids playing on it, and they shot me an invite, and I was like, oh, time to play some Minecraft, I guess. So I would hop in there every once in a while. They are much more experienced Minecraft players than I am, so I would just be kind of like tagging along on whatever adventures they had planned. Whenever I logged in, they would have like a little home base village set up with all these houses and supplies and things, and then they would typically go out on the open sea and just like explore the world, I guess.
Wow.
I don't really know what you do in Minecraft, so I was just, like I said, kind of tagging along. I would occasionally, like, this is what I really like to do in Minecraft. I would just, I don't know, it's never really something that I planned out, but I would just end up building some random structure just because I don't have any idea of what else to do. And it's always very either just purely functional or something that I think that I will be able to build using my limited Minecraft skills. So I think the very first thing that I built in Minecraft was like a foundry where I had a bunch of ovens going because I needed a bunch of metal to build like whatever else I plan to build in the future that I did not end up building because I spent all my time building this foundry. And this time around, I ended up building this enormous lighthouse because I was like, what's something relatively simple that I can kind of wrap my head around? Oh, just a single building that goes straight up in the air and does not really have any rooms. It's just kind of a big cylinder with a staircase in the middle. That
Right.
sounds about, as much as I can handle. So I built that, and it was cool.
Did it actually have a rotating light at the top? Did you have the technology to create that?
It did not. So I don't even know if you can make a rotating light. Maybe some Minecraft master could build it. But I did have a big beacon up there, and it was cool.
Excellent.
So that was fun. The server kind of existed for a few months. I kind of took a break from it. But then a few weeks ago, my friend comes back to me and says, hey, we started another server. This time we've got big ambitions for this thing. We want to build, we want to have like a project, I guess, in the same sense that that streamer had built up that entire world. This is going to be kind of a longer term quarantine thing. I was like, oh, I kind of like the sound of that. Sounds a little more directed. And somehow, I guess he decided on this enormous medieval castle. Like this guy on YouTube, the Blue Nerd, has a series of tutorial videos for building this enormous medieval castle. It's like 20 plus videos. It's like longer than most TV series. And you look at it and it's just, he's like flying the camera around this castle and you can see over the castle walls. Like the castle itself is very impressive. It's like very detailed into all these towers and little rooms and, all the kind of stuff you would expect a castle to have. But you look over the walls and there's like just a city surrounding it, and just like, this is so far beyond my capabilities in Minecraft to even visualize just, hey, we're going to build a castle, but also we're going to build the entire country that surrounds it, and there's going to be like people living there, I guess.
It's a 1-to-1 map of Romania. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's not literally 1-to-1, but it's ridiculous some of the detail that goes into this thing. But we decided the tutorial series focuses just on this one castle, so I thought that seems manageable. And then we had some decisions to make starting out So there are a couple, like if you're not familiar with Minecraft, you can play it a couple different ways. There's like the survival mode, which is like, it has the day and night cycle. At night, the monsters come out, so you have to build a little shelter for yourself and arm yourself and collect food so you don't starve to death.
That is my association with Minecraft. That is my understanding of how Minecraft works.
That is typically how I've always played it, at least for a little while. Like eventually I'll get bored of it and kind of switch over to the other mode. But I feel like that mode is, I mean, that's where all the really gamey elements exist, because you have to go out and harvest materials. You have to come back and actually like know how to craft stuff. Like you need to know the crafting recipes. I actually built that lighthouse in survival mode, which just took forever because in order to get all the stone and whatever other materials for it, I had to spend a lot of time actually mining stuff out of the ground. Mm-hmm. And so we were thinking, so for this castle, it's enormous. And we were like, well, should we do this in survival mode or should we do it in creative mode, which, you know, has a lot fewer restrictions. You can just pretty much place any kind of block you want. And I thought, well, I kind of like the idea of like building something in survival mode. The fact that you've gone out and harvested all the materials. So you can say, like after you finished it, you just look at it and say, oh yeah, we had to like mine all the stone and chop all the wood and, you know, everything else to build this whole thing. And we thought, okay, that's fine. That's cool. Well, if it turns out to be too much, we could just switch it over to creative mode very easily. And it was way too much. It was way too ambitious. We laid out like the foundations for the walls and just started figuring out how many blocks we would need. And it was like thousands and thousands of stone and wood blocks. So we very quickly switched it over to just pure creative mode. And it's been a blast, actually, because you can just, like in creative mode, you can just fly around. You have unlimited building materials. So, you know, you can just build at your own pace. You don't have to take breaks every once in a while to go mine up some new stuff.
And then defend it from monsters at night.
And then, yeah, so that was the primary reason why I would turn on peaceful mode, actually. I wouldn't go into full creative mode. And peaceful mode is survival, but without the monsters, I believe. So there was a little less pressure there. But since then, so we've just been building this castle in creative mode, and it's like weeks later. We're only like halfway through this video series, but it has just been an amazing kind of like quarantine project, even though it's only been like the last month or so. Mm-hmm. But to see this thing spring up from like the initial foundations and just the bare outer walls, and at this point we've got a bunch of the inner structures put together.
Oh wow!
There are a bunch of rooms with little like tables and chairs. I will spend some time away from the server periodically, and when I come back, they'll just be like, you know, my friend and his wife have filled in, like there's a great dining hall for all the knights, I suppose, and like a throne room. But it's amazing to come back to this thing and see it just like how it's progressed, I guess. Because this was like always like I really enjoyed the building aspects and had all these grand ideas for projects in Dragon Quest Builders. But those games, like as much as I love those games, they're just not as well suited for building, like just spending a huge amount of time in building stuff in compared to Minecraft. And to be fair, like they're at a little bit of a disadvantage, like comparing the two, because Minecraft has been around like so much longer than Dragon Quest Builders. And it's just had, you've dedicated teams updating it and refining it and improving everything about it over the last like decade, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's just much more intuitive to build stuff on a PC as opposed to, you know, Dragon Quest Builders are on a controller most of the time. So it really feels like, oh, now I can actually finally build this enormous project that would have taken probably like years at Dragon Quest Builders, because there really is no creative mode in that game. You actually do have to go and retrieve a lot of the material yourself. And I don't think you could really even fly around in that game. And in order to build a castle like this, you probably need to build a bunch of like scaffolding and stairs, like you're running an actual construction project. So, you know, as much as I like that game,
you gotta make sure your permits are in line.
Yeah, like that guy's not wearing a helmet. We're gonna get fined. But no, it's been great, and it's been a nice distraction from, you know, just everything happening. But you know, just something that I can come back to and like spend a few hours decorating a wall or carving out a basement and putting in a stairwell and stuff like that.
Excellent. I admire that stuff. I mean, I have, I mean, for years now, obviously been kind of in awe of some of the things that come out of Minecraft, or, you know, games like Dreams or Little Big Planet or Dragon Quest. No, what is it? Dragon Quest Warriors. Nope. What's the game you just said? Dragon Quest Builders.
Builders? Yeah.
It's always impressive how much people are able to do with that tool set, particularly since I have really kind of failed at every attempt I've ever had to do anything like that. I think Little Big Planet is probably the one that I spent the most amount of time with. And it was like, look, I made a pinball machine or something like that. And meanwhile, people were doing, you know, the entire opening act of Dead Space in Little Big Planet. And I'm like, okay, well, you win, obviously. So yeah, I've just never been able to kind of, you know, hang with the creatives that excel at making those things work in that type of buildery game. So yeah, I admire that. I think that's super cool. And, you know, we all need distractions. We all need hobbies right now. We all need, you know, things that are positive that we can sink our time into and feel productive about. So cool. That's exciting. I mean, good for you.
Yeah, it really makes a difference actually having this plan to follow along with. Because it turns out, like, I've always been a little intimidated just dropping into a Minecraft world and thinking like, oh man, I can build anything I want. What do I want to build? And just having it be so open-ended and unlimited. But coming into this, having this whole like video series where you can follow along block by block, it's almost like just having a huge Lego set that you're following along with. So it's much more structured. And I'm kind of curious, like, because I'm spending all my time watching this castle series and kind of figuring out how that's going to go. But I'm wondering, like, I wonder what else is out there that people have built.
Yeah.
Because by now there are just thousands and thousands of these things. Yeah. I'm already thinking, like, I don't think we're going to build the full, like, medieval village surrounding the thing. But, you know, just based on that other Minecraft world, I was like, how about a weird amusement park? Or how about, like, an apartment complex or a museum or something? That would be fun.
Yeah. So does the game have tools to, like, inhabit these things afterwards? Can you, like, play a game inside your castle once it's made, or is the fun and the joy sort of derived from the building of it, the creating of it?
I think, you know, you could play a game in the same way that you could invite people to your Animal Crossing island to play a game. Although you can get very creative within Minecraft. Like you can build simple machinery and things, and there are like AI controlled animals or enemies that you can plop down.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure somebody has already, like, if you just asked a Minecraft master, so like, what can you do after you've built your castle? They would just have a list of 100 things that you could plan out. But in this case, you may just be asking the wrong person. But I'm sure if like there are things you can do after completing like the map essentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. Yeah, I don't really have spent no time whatsoever with Minecraft, so I have this very sort of odd collection of ideas about what it is, you know, based on obviously its sort of like visibility in pop culture, but I've never actually put my hands on it myself. So I'm curious about how all of that stuff kind of works.
I like the fact that it is just this persistent thing that has existed for 10 years or so. Because I spent a lot of time in Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2 just building something in that, like those games equivalent of free mode. They weren't incredibly elaborate or anything, but they were also just stuck within those games.
Right.
Like I couldn't bring my Dragon Quest Builders 1 city into Dragon Quest Builders 2. But if I were to start another Minecraft server and just start building up random projects all over the place, those would just continue to exist somewhere. Like you can throw it up on Microsoft servers and it'll just be there until you stop paying for it.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing about was it Mojang's sort of approach to Minecraft is they've never, at least as far as I know, they've never made a Minecraft 2, right? I mean, it's always just been Minecraft, and anything they do to kind of build or expand on that kind of lives under the hood of being called Minecraft. Mm-hmm. So it is this kind of perpetually growing and evolving, particularly as sort of like generations of video game improve and change. Minecraft is still just Minecraft, but it grows to keep up with kind of the standard of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that about it. I like that it is just, like, it's all cross-platform as well, the version we're playing. So this was ridiculous. I was telling my friend as we were building this thing, like, oh man, so I could just download Minecraft and, like, log into this realm on my phone and, like, show it to people while I'm out hanging out with people. And not like that ever happens in 2020. But in an alternate scenario where that did happen, you could just log into it from pretty much anywhere and show off this castle or whatever else you've built.
Right.
Anyway, very cool. I was not expecting to spend as much time as I have with Minecraft this year, but it's been a nice escape from things.
Cool. Yeah, I get what's satisfying about building Legos, but I've never been able to translate that into a video game. So
you just need a project, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good with plans. I'm good. I've run into multiple things. Animal Crossing has sort of a very light version of this where you have,
it's really similar.
Construction tools, and you have, objects, and you have kind of a destination in mind. And some of those objects can be kind of manipulated. There are things you can do with DIYs and stuff to kind of make a thing something else in Animal Crossing. I've done a couple of little projects where I'm sort of like, I'm going to build a farmer's market, or I'm going to build kind of an outdoor movie theater, or little things like that on my island. And it's always good to go into it with a plan, because I have started building and sort of found like, oh geez, I didn't leave myself enough room.
Yeah.
For this thing to be able to actually walk up the ramp next to it, or like, oh cool, my movie theater actually overlaps with the front yard of the villager who lives next door to it. So you kind of gotta have a plan for how many blocks, tall and wide these things are going to be, and where they're going to fit, and what pieces you're going to use. And I just, again, and maybe this is my issue with games like this, is just not planful enough or sort of respectful enough of the process. I tend to jump into things and go, I can just do it. I'll just hammer it out.
Yeah.
I wind up sort of wishing I had maybe been a little more planful before I started, picking up a hammer.
See, that's how all my previous Minecraft projects have gone. I think to myself, like, this is probably going to be a disaster. I'm going to have to tear this down and rebuild it completely several times. So I'm just going to build it far away from other stuff. So there's no chance that I will like overlap onto somebody else's plot.
Right.
But on this one, it's great because he's got the entire castle outlined from the get-go. So, we put down the borders of the outer walls, and then it's really easy to just follow along with all these videos and see which block goes exactly where. So all the planning is taken care of already.
Nice.
It's really impressive that actually he was able to do this in the first place, because it's not clear. Like, I feel like he must have had this sketched out on graph paper somewhere to know that everything is going to fit together as nicely as it does. But none of that really appears in the video. So I'm just like, I would love to see what's going on behind the scenes, like actually what it looks like to draft one of these Minecraft builds before you even get to the build phase.
Right. Because just watching the video, I'm sure it just sort of seems like it was sort of assembled out of thin air.
Oh, yeah. Like, even just as he's narrating, he's like, okay, well, now we're going to put 60 blocks across this way, and then, we'll go 4 blocks up this way. And I'm just thinking, like, how do you know all this? Like, is this written down somewhere? You actually have to sit down and go, well, it has to be 60 blocks. It can't be 70 blocks, because then it's going to interfere with, I don't know, like
X,
the
Y, and Z,
gatehouse or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's impressive.
It's very, I get the sense that, this is not the only guy like this, but he's just like a total Minecraft veteran.
Yeah.
He's built countless versions of this in the past, so this is just the latest grand project he's got.
Excellent. Well, cool. I mean, I would love a tour sometime, DJ.
I forget if I posted some screenshots in the Discord, but I will maybe do that at some point.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Man, Animal Crossing was such a huge part of sort of surviving kind of quarantine and lockdown earlier this year. Mm-hmm. Like, as cases pick up again and more areas are kind of going back to, lockdown kind of type things. What is my game that's going to get me through the long, dreary winter? I don't.
Yakuza 7.
Yeah, right. Maybe. Is there, 300 and something hours of entertainment in Yakuza 7?
Those games are going to be pretty long if you do all the side quests and things.
All right.
Run your retail or real estate empire. I actually don't know what you're doing in Yakuza 7. I think you're like homeless starting out. So I don't know if you're doing real estate from hour 1.
Yeah, you'd probably have to work your way up to that.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe. We'll see.
You've always wanted to go to Japan. Why not just hang out in virtual Yokohama or wherever they are?
Absolutely.
Or just build virtual Yokohama in Minecraft.
Right. Yeah, that's it. I'll just start playing Minecraft.
Yeah. It's not the worst idea. It's not the worst thing you could be doing.
Yeah. No, clearly. There are tons of things to do. Can I bring all of my Animal Crossing villagers to Minecraft with me?
You could just recreate your Animal Crossing island in Minecraft.
Oh, man. Just build the same thing twice. That would be exciting.
Yeah, except it'd be all like square and stuff.
Right.
That'd be fun. I mean, I wonder how many people have done that already. That seems like an easy thing to do.
Now I need to Google it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we probably should wrap this thing up, right? Do want to take a moment here before we say our goodbyes to remind everybody that this Saturday, November 7th, is Extra Life. DJ and I, as well as some folks from the Video Game Hangover Discord community, will be gaming all day to raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Go to VGHangover.com/extralife to find out how you can help us out.
Yes, please do that. And if you can't have out with a donation, that's totally fine. It would just be great to just drop by and say hello on the stream, since we'll be there all day.
Yeah, absolutely. If you need any more Video Game Hangover in your brain other than that, you can always follow us on Twitter as well. We are at twitter.com/VGHangover. And man, that website has a ton of useful information in it. You can get show notes, you can get links, you can give us feedback on this episode at VGHangover.com as well as find a link to the aforementioned Discord group. You can definitely follow that link, join up, and hang out with us. We will be checking in to Discord quite a bit, I'm sure, throughout game day and beyond. So don't be afraid to jump into Discord with us as well.
Yeah.
As always, we encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Man, I just heard today we got some communication that Stitcher is updating and doing some fun stuff with their app. We are still on Stitcher. We've been on there since the beginning. So wherever you get your podcasts, just make sure you follow and subscribe us. And perhaps most importantly, always tell your friends about the show.
Yeah. Tell them what? Tell them to watch us during Extra Life.
Yeah. Tell them to wear a mask when they go to the grocery store.
That's a good one, yes.
Yep, that's very important.
They don't have to wear a mask while they're listening to the show. But
not at all.
If they're taking it out in public, please do that.
Yep. Last I checked, this was America, and I don't need a mask to listen to podcasts. Yep.
Well, I mean, that's true.
It is true. All these things are true, right? Yeah. That is, the science works on this.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it light, DJ. It's hard. The darkness creeps in sometimes. Yeah, what else? Music.
Thanks again to Lemonectric for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to lemonectric.bandcamp.com for more of that citrus-flavored music.
So very juicy. Good. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.